Amidst the candlelit ambience of their opulent chamber, Pope Borgia gently gathered his daughter close, his eyes twinkling with a secret he was eager to unveil. His voice, a tender murmur, promised of enchantment to come. "Dearest Ruby," he began, his words dancing like firelight, "I have discovered the most extraordinary match for you. A man who embodies the very essence of chivalry and valor." Ruby's heart fluttered, her gaze casting fleeting shadows of worry. The room seemed to echo with uncertainty, and even her beloved brother Enzo could not stifle his concern. He voiced the hesitation that whispered through her mind, reminding their father that their past pains still lingered, fresh from the broken engagement not half a year before. Enzo's voice, a reflection of protectiveness, beseeched for their sister's heart to be considered. As the weight of the conversation hung in the air, the protagonist, with a soft breath, dared to inquire about the identity of this potential suitor. Pope Borgia's eyes softened as he painted an enticing portrait of the groom, a true hero of Britannia, a knight whose valor knew no bounds, whose features were sculpted by the gods themselves. Handsome, steadfast, a beacon of honor. Yet Enzo, fiercely resolute, challenged the portrait painted by their father. A somber history clung to the knight, whispers of tarnished reputation and deeds too dark to ignore. His voice, a collision of loyalty and concern, pleaded for Ruby's well-being. But Pope Borgia silenced him with a stern hand, a gesture that quelled the protests and bolstered his determination. Inwardly, Ruby's thoughts were a tempest of emotions. She understood the danger that lay veiled beneath her father's conviction. She sensed the impending storm, a tempest that would one day shatter their family. And yet her voice found agreement, a concession made in the shadow of destiny's hand. Her heart and mind collided, forging a path she felt both bound and compelled to tread. Cesar's hope for his sister's happiness was palpable, yet Ruby bore the knowledge of her origins, a soul transplanted from a time of metal birds and roaring engines. A life touched by tragedy, leaving only scars of anorexia and memories of a lost love. The brother she'd once trusted had become a mirror of the very darkness that their father embodied. She knew the threads of fate woven into her story, the impending doom that loomed on the horizon. A tale penned with ink and anguish, whispering of a father's corruption and the inescapable clash with her destined husband. Both of them, pawns in a narrative that echoed through the ages. In the quiet depths of her gaze, one could glimpse the reflection of a world once known, the turmoil of emotions she grappled with, and the weight of a history yet to unfold. And as the night deepened, Ruby's heart fluttered like a fragile moth drawn inexorably towards the flame, awaiting the trials of love, destiny, and the entwining of their stories in the tapestry of time. In a realm where unions were oftentimes a dance of strategy and politics, Ruby's heart bore the weight of multiple unions prior, all threads woven for political ambitions. Now destiny beckoned once more, guiding her toward a marriage with Isaac Ben Omerta, a figure shrouded in legend and valor. He had shouldered the mantle of a holy knight at a mere 15 years, etching his name in history as the youngest to conquer the battlefield. From the earliest moments of his life, Isaac had exuded an air of nobility that enthralled, casting spells that ensnared the hearts of women, albeit in ways that weren't necessarily virtuous. His very essence seemed crafted to ignite passion and desire, yet shadows clung to his past. Tales whispered of past marriages, a turmoil that had stirred his father to fury. The only women who held sway over him were Ruby's sister and her confidant, Freya. Yet there lay a shift in Isaac's aura, a transformation set into motion by his mother's departure from this world. Ruby sensed the change, a shift that stirred her soul even though the details were hazy, a story read in a distant past. His acquiescence to their union hung unspoken, And Ruby found herself pondering whether Isaac's silence masked an understanding or reluctance. She mused that perhaps, if Isaac chose to cast her aside, her sister might have been thrust into the role she now contemplated. The specter of the family's history lurked beneath the surface, painting a grim tableau of betrayal and vengeance, all stemming from the poisoning of Isaac's sister. The truth, however, carried a sinister note. It was Caesar's cunning hand that had orchestrated this dark tapestry, puppeteer of a tragedy that bound them all. In the eyes of all, Ruby bore the yoke of servitude, a label she could not escape, be it from Isaac's sister or her close companion, Freya. Lost in thoughts that wove webs of uncertainty, Caesar's arrival in her sanctum marked a turning point. His gentle presence sought solace amidst her worries, a balm to soothe her restless heart. Caesar's words, a gentle lullaby, coaxed honesty from Ruby, a promise she hesitated not to make. She voiced her yearning for an eternal life by his side, her heart's desire an echo of secrets not yet unfurled. Yet within her breast lay the knowledge that the tempest of violence lurked, a storm that might break without warning, leaving her unguarded against its fury. As the tapestry of their fates continued to unfurl, Ruby's heart remained caught between the siren call of affection and the shadows of an uncertain future, a symphony of love and tumult that would forever etch their story into the annals of time. In the vibrant tapestry of her rebirth, Ruby found herself seamlessly woven into a new realm, her soul rekindled at the tender age of 15. Swiftly swept into the currents of fate, she was hurled into a marriage that fate dictated with the Duke of Rembrandt Kingdom, a man whose shadow cast a looming specter over her family's fate. Accusations whispered that his impotency held the power to lay ruin to her kin, a family teetering on the precipice of downfall. In an audacious act of defiance, Ruby refused to yield, choosing to stand as a bulwark against her family's demise. Yet her defiance was met with revelation. The Pope's visage shifted, revealing a true self beneath the facade, and the ensuing punishment was a cruel dance of violence that left her gasping for salvation. It was Césaire, her unwavering ally, whose name escaped her lips in a fervent plea for respite, a stark realization of her harrowing reality. Her very existence, entwined with that of Carmen, the woman who bore her into this world, held a reflection of history. A history that echoed her previous life, compelling her to don a mask of adaptation, to traverse the unfamiliar with the echo of familiarity as her guide. Césaire's words, a lifeline to cling to, whispered that her entanglement would wane in a mere half-year, a fleeting respite from the shackles that bound her. He offered solace in the form of separation, claiming Isaac's touch would forever remain distant. As her query lingered, Césaire's assurance of frequent visits drew an unspoken hesitation, a quiet reprieve in the hidden chambers of her heart. The weight of innocence tethered to her sister-in-law's life weighed heavy upon her. She knew the path ahead required her to thwart the looming shadow of assassination, to prove her innocence amidst a storm of accusations. As the day of her marriage unfurled, the Northern Kingdom's hushed whispers of Ruby and Césaire painted a portrait of their own, a dance of intrigue woven into the very fabric of their conversations. With each fleeting glance at the Pope, Ruby pondered if he held secrets, and yet she played her part with grace, concealing her own intentions beneath an artful veneer. In the midst of this tumultuous world, Enzo emerged as an anchor, a soul whose heart beat true amidst the chaotic tide. His actions, seemingly erratic to an outsider's gaze, held a steadfast kindness that set him apart within her family's midst. And as the threads of life converged once more, Ruby's meeting with Caesar echoed with a sense of irony. A past life wished for the embrace of death, a wish fulfilled, only to awaken into a fight for survival. Irony's bitter taste lingered, yet within her gaze flickered the fire of determination, an ember alight with the unwavering resolve to script her own destiny amidst the tapestry of this new world. In the theater of conflict, Isaac's presence cast an uncanny aura, a stark contrast amidst the chaos of battle. As the carnage raged and the cries of fallen warriors echoed, he stood aloof, shunning conversation even with his closest companion. His words, tinged with a sense of detachment, revealed that Ellen's wishes dictated his silence. The undercurrent of his confession carried the burden of weakness in his sister's shadow. Yet his friend's gaze held a flicker of confusion, an acknowledgement of the unfamiliarity that marked their discourse. The truth of Ruby's arrival, heralding the bond of marriage, unfurled in the air between them. Despite his reluctance, his companion entreated him to at least partake in a meal with his new bride. Isaac, unyielding, insisted that others had taken his place, veering away from the path that destiny had set before him. Curiosity danced in his friend's eyes, a desire to meet Ruby in the flesh. But Isaac's disinterest radiated, a dispassionate suggestion for his companion to follow his curiosity elsewhere. With unwavering determination, his friend implored him to embrace his role as a husband, invoking the specter of the impotent duke, whose shadow loomed over them both. Unspoken words danced at the tip of his tongue, the prospect of Freya, a potential path less traversed, yet he knew that the depths of understanding would elude his companion's grasp. News of Isaac's brother's attendance at the wedding mingled with tales of Ruby's arduous journey to the northern kingdom, a voyage marred by relentless illness. His friend's words wove a tapestry of Ruby's persona, sharing stories they'd gathered from the whispers of others. In the hush of solitude, they mused on Ruby's loneliness, a poignant chord that resonated even as Isaac's desire to vanquish the Pope simmered beneath the surface. Lorenzo's sudden intrusion disrupted the solemn air, an injection of humor that sent his friend's words cascading like a waterfall of admonishment. The room echoed with the weight of Lorenzo's whims, a proposition laden with gravity. His words laid bare his intentions, a desire to wed Isaac's sister after parting ways with his current spouse, Borgia. A stern ultimatum lingered, a threat veiled in Lorenzo's pronouncement that Isaac should distance himself, lest his sister meet a grim fate. In the aftermath of their exchanges, Isaac's steps carried him away, an unspoken determination to cleanse his form and his mind. He recognized the need to immerse himself in solitude, to unshackle himself from the currents of others' desires, if only for a fleeting moment. And so, amidst the backdrop of battles and alliances, Isaac navigated the symphony of his own thoughts, a solitary dance through the corridors of his destiny. In the realm of encounters, Ruby's path intertwined with Isaac's sister, a woman whose demeanor echoed authority, yet beneath the surface pulsed the rhythm of a compassionate heart. Honest words flowed in their conversation, and as Ruby's gaze lingered upon Elenia's visage, she marveled at the radiance that seemed almost too precious to be contained. Their exchange unveiled the layers of Elenia's life, the mantle she'd assumed upon her mother's passing, the weight of responsibility she'd shouldered. An intention to reshape the mansion lay veiled within her words, a desire to intertwine Ruby's comfort with her own vision. The promise of maids at Ruby's back and call hung in the air, a lifeline to navigate unfamiliar customs and norms. Yet Ruby's heart beat with trepidation, the fear that her presence would ignite chaos and inconvenience. Elenia, however, stood firm, her confidence unwavering. Her assurance painted a tapestry of protection, the conviction that her will would be unchallenged. A simple request, to call her by her name, sparked ripples of astonishment, a request granted that rippled beyond Ruby's anticipation. A transformation began, Elenia becoming Ellen, as if the very air swirled with newfound camaraderie. Ruby's thoughts danced within her, her true motives a guarded secret, a desire to be perceived as an innocuous presence. The room Ellen unveiled held a charm that instantly resonated with Ruby, a place she could embrace as her own. Yet the watchful gaze of the maid lingered, suspicion casting shadows upon her. As night descended, Ruby's instincts whispered truths that escaped casual observation. The extinguished fire and the specter on the balcony painted an air of intrigue, secrets lurking amidst the darkness. And there in the hush of the night, Ruby stood at the precipice of a new chapter, her heart echoing with questions that danced on the edge of understanding. A dance that would soon carry her into a realm where beauty and danger were entwined in an intricate tapestry. In the enigmatic shroud of night, a haunting figure emerged, a creature that seemed to defy reality. Its purpose remained veiled as it drew closer, and as terror seized her, Ruby's voice shattered the silence, her screams echoing through the air like shards of broken glass. One of the maids, roused by Ruby's frantic cries, hurried to her side, poised to offer solace. Their conversation hung suspended as the ghastly figure strode onward, an uncanny presence that stirred the depths of unease. Ellen's voice pierced the tension, a clarion call that summoned forth salvation. Swift as a lightning strike, a sword cleaved through the darkness, shattering the grotesque illusion. Revealed in the glow of newfound light, the vanquisher was none other than Isaac, a beacon of strength and protection. But as his voice resonated, it was not concern for her well-being that dominated his words. Inquisition gripped his tone, questioning the motives behind the extinguished light. Accusation lingered, casting shadows that danced in the corners of the room. The unspoken truth that her actions had drawn attention loomed like a specter. Ellen, a steadfast presence, interjected, her support like a shield against Isaac's inquiry. The weight of the situation tugged at Ruby, the need to redirect the narrative, compelling her to fabricate a lie. A tale spun to douse the flames of escalating tension. The ruse, simple yet effective, centered on her feigned discomfort, a claim of seeking respite from the heat. Isaac's desire to probe further was left unsated, his inquiries left unanswered as he chose to move on, the gravity of his presence fading as he withdrew. As dawn painted the sky with a palette of hues, Ruby's morning meal remained largely untouched, a reflection of the intricacies that wove her reality. Ellen, her voice tender yet resolute, promised that the unsettling occurrence would not repeat, offering a lifeline to the bewildered newcomer. With determination in her gaze, Ruby requested an introduction to the seamstress, a path she sought to traverse as she embarked on the journey to prepare for the impending occasion. A desire to present her best self to the world, to erase the blemishes that marked her initial meeting with her husband. As the tapestry of her existence unfurled, Ruby stood poised at the threshold of transformation, each step a testament to the strength that blossomed amidst the labyrinthine corridors of her newfound reality. In the quiet chambers of her thoughts, a decision blossomed like a fragile flower nurtured by Ellen's counsel. Ruby's heart yearned for insight into Isaac's true nature, a safeguard against the impending fate that loomed at the crossroads of their story. The church, a sanctuary of revelations, beckoned her like a guiding star. She mused that, should her efforts to protect Ellen falter, this knowledge could be her refuge, a harbor of familiarity in an ocean of uncertainty. In the tapestry of events, the specter of poison held its place, a darkness cast by an engagement to the prince of Doria's kingdom, a beacon of discord between Ruby's existence and the pontiff's designs. Yet her lips remained sealed, her knowledge a tightly held secret. The shadow of her father's spies circled like vultures, rendering her voice impotent in the face of the truth. Her wanderings guided her to an encounter with Isaac's confidant, a meeting that sparked nervous tension within him. He moved with haste, as if on a quest to summon Isaac himself. Emerging from the shadows, Isaac's steps carried him away, a gesture that bore the weight of distance, leaving Ruby standing in his wake. A cascade of fruit rained to the ground, the crash mirroring the fragments of Ruby's heart as tears spilled like rain. In the face of her sorrow, the truth whispered itself into the air. Isaac's indifference, a facade she mistook for hate, was perhaps not as resolute as it seemed. Yet, as if to shatter the fragile hope that began to blossom, his words struck like a blow, their sting laced with cruelty. His insinuation that she ought to pen a plea to return home encapsulated his dismissal, a verdict of insignificance. A realization crystallized within Ruby. Pretense was futile, an act of foolishness that held no sway over a man like Isaac. With newfound fervor, she cast aside the guise, her voice rising in a crescendo of emotion. Amidst the tapestry of her revelation, her declaration of love pierced the air, a confession that hung between them like a fragile bridge, poised to either crumble or carry them to an uncharted realm of possibility. In a moment of unbridled courage, Ruby's voice rang out, confessing the sentiments that had taken root within her heart. The air seemed to shimmer with anticipation, a chorus of cheers echoing around them, as if heralding a triumphant feat. Yet, as the weight of her words settled between them, Isaac's retreat, a step backward instead of forward, painted a poignant portrait of hesitation. Her voice, an unyielding force, carried on the wind as she shouted after him, her emotions laid bare in her fervent pleas. As the eve of the banquet unfurled, Ruby, adorned in her finest, crossed paths with Ellen and her friend Freya. Freya's warm greeting, a touch of kindness, was a salve upon Ruby's apprehension. The contrast in their treatment was stark, a reminder of the dichotomy that marked her place in this new world. The guise of modesty she adopted seemed to draw Freya's gaze, an understanding born from an unspoken connection. Ellen's revelation of Isaac's tardiness carried a mix of anticipation and disappointment for Ruby. The desire to glimpse him, even if only briefly, kindled within her heart like a flicker of flame. The journey to the palace of Agnaban marked the next chapter, an occasion that painted her in the spotlight, a canvas on which others sought to draw connections to her elusive family. Ellen's ire, a flash of emotion, left a mark upon the air. Ruby's imagination spun tales of her fiery retort, words cast with fierce independence. And amidst the sea of onlookers, Freya's call summoned Isaac, the allusion to a husband branding him like a seal. Ruby's wave lingered in the air, yet his movement away from her, an evasion, carried with it a bitter tang of rejection. In the face of rejection, determination burned within Ruby, a resolve that ignited like a beacon. Her path forged ahead, her stride unwavering, as she ventured toward Isaac amidst the sea of curious gazes. In that moment, the world faded away, leaving only the echo of her footsteps and the pounding of her heart, an unwavering declaration of her intentions. In the resplendent grandeur of the banquet, Ruby's voice rang out like a soft melody, praising Isaac's appearance. The subtle words, like tendrils of intrigue, wound their way into the tapestry of their interaction, serving as a catalyst for both connection and vexation. A dance of irritation seemed to play in their exchange, Ruby's artful prodding casting a spell of mischief upon their conversation. Yet as the topic veered toward the notion of piquing, a twist of fate and a misunderstanding conspired to twist Isaac's perception. The shadow of danger loomed where none existed, a misinterpretation that painted her intentions with the brush of malevolence. Ruby's thoughts echoed with incredulity, for the idea that she'd ever harbor thoughts of assassination seemed as preposterous as the sky suddenly turning scarlet. As the crowd swelled around them, a chorus of voices that grated on Isaac's patience, the moment of anticipation arrived. The Emperor's arrival heralded a shift in the air, an announcement that rippled through the room like a current. The imperial couple, resplendent in their regalia, took center stage, a symbol of power and opulence. In the presence of royalty, Ruby's smile emerged, a mask that concealed the depths of her thoughts. Greetings tumbled from her lips, carrying the weight of expectation, as she offered her salutations to both Emperor and Empress. In the aftermath of the Emperor's exchange with Isaac, Ruby's gaze wandered, landing upon the enigmatic figure of Princess Arian. The threads of understanding wove themselves into a tapestry of comprehension, the scarcity of the princess presence in the original tale now illuminated by Ruby's insight. The love that had bound the Emperor to both queen and princess came alive in her thoughts, a testament to the intricate web of emotions that had once flourished. Amidst the nuances of courtly intrigue, the realization dawned upon Ruby. Her plight, though bleak, existed in a realm distinct from the princess' destiny. Sympathy, though a thread woven through her heart, remained ensnared by the tangle of her own struggles, leaving her poised on a precipice, a sentinel in a story that now bore the mark of her indelible presence. Within the banquet symphony, Ruby found herself seated among in-laws, memories of past lessons dancing in her thoughts. The sports, once orchestrated to court the noble's attention, remained fragmented fragments of recollection, like stars in a sky she could only glimpse from afar. The web of unique relations, including that with Freya, seemed insignificant when compared to her guise as an innocent and harmless presence within this world. A shadow cast over her as thoughts of an upcoming fencing competition emerged. The specter of César's presence, intertwined with Isaac's, loomed like a storm on the horizon. The inevitability of their encounter settled within her, a tempest of emotions surging to the surface. The memories stirred a dizzying cascade of emotions, leaving her teetering on the edge of the unknown. Amidst the haze of her thoughts, a chance encounter with Lorenzo disrupted her reverie. As the pieces fell into place, a realization took root. Freya's connection to Lorenzo, a brother whose demeanor carried a subtle undercurrent of hostility. A dance of words unfolded, a psalm's mention sparking confusion that lingered like a thread in the air. The scene shifted as Ivan, Isaac's friend, entered the fray. A punishment in the form of ear-pulling materialized, Lorenzo's antics met with Ivan's brand of reprimand. The declaration, a pledge to protect her from Lorenzo's disturbances, carried with it a hint of camaraderie, a bridge formed by Ivan's unspoken understanding. As words flowed, the image of Isaac emerged, his detachment from gossips a whisper of hope, a glimmer of possibility that stirred beneath the surface. And amidst the ebb and flow of the banquet, Ruby's path continued to unfurl, a tapestry woven with threads of connection, camaraderie, and hope. The symphony of emotions and intrigue painted a mosaic of her existence, a portrait that grew ever more intricate with every twist and turn of her journey.